And welcome back, everyone, to It's After Hours, only on It Is the After Hours YouTube channel. Now, join me on the line. This young lady here, well, she is toned, buff, sexy, and in shape. Puts a lot of us to shame who are even 30, 40 years her junior, but, well, she's still going strong. And, well, a lot of big things are on her plate. We're going to be talking about that and a whole lot more. I give you score model, fitness model, all around sexy little mama. I'll give you Miss Azure Dee. So, Azure, let's start off here with the big question. How tough is it sometimes finding that perfect balance? Because you do a lot of fitness modeling, so you're always in shape, you're buff. You shoot porn, and people want soft bodies. So, how do you find that happy medium to do both?
Well, I'm kind of already in the mindset, and it's hard for me to sluck off and allow myself to, put on some fluff, as they say. So I'm kind of already ready to go for the most part. And every now and then, I get I stray away, I indulge, but it's never ever to the point where I'm totally, out of control. So if I have something that I know that's coming up within a month and a half, 3, 4 weeks, I can do some damage in that period of time to get back to where I'm going to be presentable. But usually I plan things out so that I know where I stand and where I have to be when it comes to things like that, because being in that shape year round, it's not something that you do year round because it's not meant to be that way. And as a matter of fact, I am actually taking this year off. I'm giving myself a break, especially after last year with COVID. It caused me to chase after shows, training for shows that I didn't know if they were actually going to happen. And then if they did happen, they ended up getting canceled and pushed down the road, a couple, 3 months. And then what was 14 weeks down the road became 25 weeks. So slow your roll. And it was just stop, start, stop, start. I think I spent a good 75% of last year in contest prep mode. So by the time it was over and the new year began, I was wondering why I was so exhausted. And I was just between, everything that had been going on last year and training for the shows and trying to deal with technology, just to keep ahead of things. I was exhausted mentally, emotionally, and physically. So I'm taking this year off from shows. I'm not going to be doing any. So that allowed me to focus a little bit more on this industry.
So, what is it about the adult industry that you love so much? What made you decide to get into it at a later age rather than when you were in your early 20s?
Because I didn't know about it in my early 20s, for starts, honestly. Um, it was what they say, a means to justify the end, in a sense. I pretty much grew up, in the era that I did. I'm a baby boomer. So I come from that era where basically societal norms and system beliefs were such that pretty much dictated, as a woman, what my role was as a wife, as a mother, as a daughter, and, pretty much, did everything I was supposed to do, go to school, get good grades, graduate, get a job, get married, have kids, buy a house, that kind of thing, in that order. I kid you not. And so I was just doing that. And somebody asked me one day, how's that working for you? And it really wasn't. It wasn't until I had already started doing this on my own when I was about 20 years old. Got into the health and fitness revolution, and it was just kind of a why not situation. I was doing it by myself because I had experienced what they call an embarrassing moment that caused me to reevaluate, the shape that I was in. I wasn't happy with it. After high school and doing a lot of sports and, eating accordingly, and then getting stuck on a desk job 2 months right out of high school for the rest of my life. Nobody told me that this was what's going to happen, and it did. And it got the best of me, which has for most of my counterparts. If you think about it, those that didn't jump on that health and fitness bandwagon back in the 20, when they were like 20, like I did, ended up going on through life doing everything that they were supposed to be doing. And somebody told them that sitting at a desk job for 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, was going to create some issues, or being at that heavy construction job that they were doing 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, was going to beat them up, that I had that benefit going for me. But before it started, though, I had gotten a little chunky, and I had this embarrassing moment that told me to say, hey, I had to do something about myself. So I did. I took things into my own hands. I cleaned out my cupboards and my refrigerator. I started eating more healthily. I was doing sit-ups and push-ups and donkey kicks on my living room floor. I started jogging, and 1 mile became 2, 3, 4, up to 5. And by a year's time, I'd lost probably 15 pounds of my own, but I plateaued. And every day I went to work, I passed this little gym on the bus line. And so one day I decided to check it out. I joined it. 6 months later, the gal that worked the floor, she came to me and told me that there was this bodybuilding contest that was happening, and that the owner of the club used to be business partners with the promoter, and he had competed before, and said that if I was interested in participating, that he would help me. So I said, why not? Well, that's where it started. So that's how I got into bodybuilding, when it was first introduced to women altogether. I mean, I was there on the ground floor when it broke loose. So I've seen it come full circle from where it's at now to where it started, and I was there every step of the way. So this is what I've been doing my entire life. And then I go on and I get married and I have kids and I do all those things just like they told me to. And nothing was really working out. I mean, I went through 18 years of marriage, and then finally I was probably about in my 40s when I divorced. And so here I am, I'm with 2 small kids, single mom, no job. We had just lost our business for the second time in 10 years. So, and it was the worst business venture situation ever. So I lost everything, my 401k. I went on welfare, and then I ended up going back to school full time. This was the beginning of my personal growth, and where I started learning things about myself, and accomplishing things as well. So I went through phases and stages at that point. I ended up moving over here from Oregon because I wanted to move back to Seattle after I graduated, but my ex-husband stopped me in family court, wouldn't allow me to take our son. So I stayed behind, and I ended up moving to Boise, where the job market was, and got a job over here, and I've been here ever since, and that was in 2007. When I got a job over here, I was working for a call center job, and I ran a morning newspaper route at the same time, back to back. And then I had this little boot camp class that I taught twice a week at a health club down the street from me for pocket change. So I did that for about 3 years, back to back. And then I lost my call center job, and the health club that I was doing the boot camp classes for put me on full time as their fitness coordinator for all the trainers and all the exercise, group exercise instructors. So I did that, and I was like back in my groove, because the businesses that we had had in the past when I was married, they were health clubs, and they were my husband's dream. That's what he wanted to do. And I basically just supported him and encouraged him and helped him, and obviously invested in him with my 401k, so, but he ended up flushing it down the toilet each and every time. So that last time was done with, when I'm back with this health club, doing what I love doing, and I'm in my groove, and I'm good at it. 6 months later, they went out of business. So I get this rug pulled out from underneath me for the 3rd time, and I had a handful of clients when I was working at the club, between being the coordinator and one gal that I was training. She wanted me to continue training her when the club had closed, and that's what gave me the idea of starting my own personal training business. And so I grabbed all my files when it went into lockdown, And I emailed all my clients and told them that I was going to do my own thing, and I said to keep them posted and that they would follow me. Now, the gal that encouraged me to do this, because she's the one that continued to want me to train her, and she was paying me, and I thought, well, here, if I got somebody who's paying me to do this, then I felt more confident in being able to do that. Well, as I was going through the process of trying to get that set up, I did the Small Business Administration application. However, I didn't realize that there was a deadline, and I missed the deadline for submission, and it wasn't going to come back around for another year. So I missed the boat, so to speak. I had to reevaluate my goals and what I was going to do about it. And the gal that had been with me every step of the way from the moment that club closed, and she had told me earlier on that she was an escort. And I was like, well, that's cool, I guess. So anyways, when I missed the boat with the SBA loan, I went to her and I asked her a little bit more about her career path and what that was about, and she ended up becoming my mentor. So basically, I needed to get something going to facilitate my ability to open up my own fitness center. So like I said, it was the means to justify the end. I gave myself 2 years to accomplish that, and I did. And so that when I did get to that point, and I realized, okay, well, here I am. What next? I was going to quit this. And then I started having this conversation with myself about, well, why do I have to quit this? Who said I had to quit this? No one said I had to quit this. You said you had to quit this. I'm like, no, I don't. Because in those 2 years, I had just had an amazing time. It was an amazing journey of meeting so many different people from different walks of life and hearing their stories. And I just kind of felt I was, like I said, I was a late bloomer. I mean, gosh, I was in my 50s at that point. Because I think I graduated from college with my associate's applied science, when I was 49. So I started when I was 46, and it took me 3 years to finish it. So yeah, the timing's right. So by the time I get into this, it's like I'm in my early 50s. So I felt already that I was a late bloomer, as well as being so totally naive and with no clue as to what's involved. And so I had all these opportunities to spring up and doors open for me that gave me an insight into a lot more stuff that I had no clue about. And it's been an amazing journey, and it's allowed me to learn more about myself, especially what makes me tick, and help me embrace my sexuality, and know what my limits are, what my soft limits are, my hard limits, what I won't do, what I will do, and just learn about other people as well as myself. And it's been a wonderful journey. I've met so many amazing people. And because it's like I'm living vicariously through them, I've been coming from a background that's been suppressed and oppressed, that I felt so naive of knowing what was going on in this world, because I was, too busy living what society told me I should be doing. And so I was pretty overwhelmed, and I didn't see why there would be any reason I would have to walk away from that any sooner. Plus, I began to realize that the fact that I had kept myself in such good shape through all the decades is what has actually allowed me to increase my longevity in this lifestyle. So there you have it.
If you're just tuning in, ladies and gentlemen, once again, we get Azure Dee here on the show. We're talking all things, of course, fitness modeling. We're talking escorting. We're talking balancing life and handling all its challenges. How much of this, and I know we're, as you said, we're doing all this here, and we're a little bit rushed for time, but last two questions before I let you go. First, how much for you is this also just this industry about empowerment? Because here you are, you've been shooting in your 50s and your 60s. You still look great. Score loves you. They've shot you several times. How nice does it feel having men, women, and people look at you as desirable?
Well, it's funny that you should say that, because it was something that I, for a long time, had a hard time accepting, because I found myself, anytime I received a compliment, I would have to explain it away. I would find an excuse or give credit to something or somebody else as to the reason why I was getting the compliment in the first place. Like chalk it up to good genes, or I get that from my mother, you know what I'm saying? So there was a time when I was like really struggling to try to thank somebody when they paid me a compliment, to the person goes, Dee, just say thank you. So it was something that I found out about myself that I was doing, and it was hard for me to think that I was even deserving of that compliment. So when you ask me something like that, it's like I just didn't, I would find it hard to see what they see and accept that, because I had learned that I was constantly running after my mother my entire life until the day she died, for seeking her approval and her acceptance, which would explain why I did what I did when it came to accepting compliments or people praising me for something that I didn't feel that I was worthy of receiving. So now I can, but I do it with humility.
Last question for let you go. What's the goal? What's the one on the bucket list for 2020, for 2021, 2022? Like, what are some of the things you want to accomplish this year?
Well, I would say get my pro card is number one, but I'm not doing any shows this year, so that can't be done. But I'm taking time off so that I can actually build up to come back to that. And that is my goal, is to get my pro card, since I missed it by one placement in 2019. So if I'm not going to be doing any shows this year, I'm going to be working on doing some more networking, getting in touch with producers and content creators in the adult industry, now that things are really picking back up, and start brushing off some of my applications or resumes to some of these producers. I've been trying to touch base with Score Group to come back in the next genre that they have, which is 60 plus mils, because I'm into that decade now. So that would be definitely appropriate. And that would be I'll make that my bucket list, because I've been trying to get back with them for the last 4 years, and either they weren't hiring or they didn't have any need for me, and then COVID hit. So I would really love to do other 60 plus mils. Yeah.
Oh, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, I give you the beautiful, the sexy, the gorgeous. I give you it to Azure Dee. Azure, before I let you go, where can the fans check you out at? Where is the Twitter, the Instagram, the OnlyFans? Where can fans hit you up at?
I am on that. I am on Twitter. I'm on OnlyFans. It's at Azure Dee 3 for Twitter, and OnlyFans, I believe, is Azure D. I'm not positive. I'd have to check.
Azure Dee,
Okay.
Azure Dee, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, we are proud to have her on the show. We come back, but we got a lot more going on here. Only on It's After Hours, only on the After Hours YouTube channel.